Hello, MYM Insiders. How you doing today? This is Rich Harshaw, and we are going to tackle the second part of something we started last month, which was actually delayed a year and a half. I don't know exactly how that happened, but this is the series on headline starters. And as I mentioned last time, we had this conversation on June 3rd when we did part one of this webinar. Very frequently when I have to sit down and crank out marketing for a client, I will turn to headline starters. It's a good way to sort of get things going in your brain. It's the antidote for blank page syndrome. So we're going to tackle headline starters today. Last time, again, we did part one. There are about 26, I think, headline starters, and we did 1 through 12. Now, just to kind of give you a review, make sure everything's working okay here with technology, it is. Just to give you a review, I liken headline starters to a fire starter. This is something that we used in Boy Scouts back in the day, and if we wanted to start a fire, we had this little kerosene-soaked doodad, like a piece of wood that was like wood fiber or pulp all crushed together and soaked in kerosene for about 75 weeks or something. And if you could just get your lighter or a match to touch that little thing, it would stay on fire, even if it was raining or there's bad weather conditions or whatever the situation was. And then you could take your tinder and your kindling and all that stuff and pile it on there. It was a fire starter. That's kind of what we're trying to do with these headline starters. These are topics or ideas or concepts or angles for us to look at to start writing headlines. So let's go ahead and jump in. And by way of review, we talked about the need for headlines last time. Just by way of review, every ad has to have a headline. It should be an activator that paints a mental picture, interrupts the prospect. Now, this is the key thing, paints a mental picture. So what we're trying to do with the multiple headline starters is give ourselves different ways to start headlines so that we can capture people's attention coming from different angles, okay? Hot button oriented. I'll show you some examples of using hot button oriented headlines as we go through this today. And yeah, I'm not going to go through that in a lot of detail. So let's go through, starting with number 13. We've got one called SATTP, which is actually SATTP, short and to the point. A short and to the point headline. I'll give you some examples of those. We're going to talk about the curiosity or the tease, inflammatory headlines, situations, have you ever or how often, problem statements, solution statements, imagine / what if, credentials, elevators, anticipated objections, destroying the competition, parentheses, and finally one that's kind of fun, which is pictures. So we've got, what do we got today to cover? 4, 5, 7, 14? All right, so we better get going. So let's start with short and to the point. 3 to 7 words typically for a short and to the point headline. Now, just to make sure everybody's following along and understanding what I'm saying, to avoid any kind of confusion, I am not saying that all of your headlines should be short and to the point. This is one of 26 different ways to write a headline, okay? Hang on just one second. All right, I'm back. These are good for subheadlines, and they're also good for introductory paragraphs. Okay, so just to give you some examples, this is the format I'll use. I'll give you what the headline starter is. I'll explain it a little bit. I'll give you some examples. Then later on, we're going to come back and go through some examples for different industries, and we'll apply the various headline starters to each of those industries, okay? Our staff responds in 3 minutes or less. Increase your pay 3 times in 3 weeks. Get some new customers from the internet now. Certified uniformed workers, guaranteed polite. Permanently eliminate temporary worker headaches. Now, I want you to recognize something with the short and to the point headlines. They usually are going to require context to be given from other parts of the advertisement or letter that you're writing. In other words, if I say increase your pay 3 times in 3 weeks, I really don't know what that's talking about. Obviously, it's talking about increasing your pay, but I don't know what the more specific topic is. How would you do that? Is it some kind of a business opportunity? Is it some sort of a reading course? It's hard to say what it is. Certified uniformed workers, guaranteed polite. Is that for an air conditioning company, or is it for repair, pool service? I don't know. So generally with these, there will be context clues elsewhere in the advertisement that will help clarify. But because it's short and to the point, you don't have a lot of room to put all of the context into the headlines. I think short and to the point headlines, very, very useful for you to sit down and write, because it forces you to be as concise and precise and efficient as possible. So I'm a big fan of the short and to the point headline. The next one is the curiosity or the tease, okay? Now, if you ever listen to the radio, they do this a lot on radio, not as much on TV, but think about radio. They're about to go to commercial. They want you to come back after the commercial, so they say something that makes you go, I wonder what that is. I listen to sports radio from time to time, and maybe they've got a segment where they're talking about, I'm a big basketball fan, let's say they're talking about NBA, and they're talking about Dirk Nowitzki and all these different kinds of things that I'm interested in. Now it comes time for the commercial. Well, I'm going to change the channel because I want to see if there's something else. I don't want to listen to commercials. And the guy says something like, you won't believe what Tony Romo found when he went outside of his house to his car this morning. Now, I listen to that and go, I like the Cowboys. I like Tony Romo. That seems pretty odd. What could it possibly be? I have to stick around. Okay, that's what we want to do. For a roofing company, the maximum size hailstone your roof is warranted against. What industry garnered 3,422 Better Business Bureau complaints last year? Why most video companies are still charging 2001 prices? Guess who's hiring the 77% of workers that fail our certification tests? Curiosity, tease, okay? Inflammatory. Now, back in the olden days, we used to only have 12 headline starters. Then we expanded. One of the original 12 was inflammatory. And the inflammatory headline is pretty simple. You say something unexpected, obnoxious, irreverent, otherwise inflammatory. Well, the reason I kicked it out of the original 12 before reintroducing it as number 15 was we used to do a lot of seminars. And when we would do those seminars, we would do headline writing exercises going through the headline bank. And we would have people write 12 different types of headlines using 12 different headline starters. And then we'd have people read those headlines out loud to see, who could come up with good headlines. And inevitably, the inflammatory headline starter would get all of the attention. People would write the craziest, most wheels off. Usually, it would devolve into things that were immature, sophomoric, inappropriate, innuendo. So we kind of just threw it out for a while. But here it is back. So get ready to write some inflammatory headlines. Again, obnoxious, irreverent, somehow inflammatory. You can't quit smoking because you're pathetic and lack a single ounce of willpower. That's a pretty interesting way to get somebody's attention. If you're not going to see the dentist, you might as well quit brushing too. You've got the ugliest child I've ever seen. And finally, this is a real headline, real headlines, but this is a headline I wrote for a client, gosh, almost 20 years ago. How my ugliest, stinkiest, most obnoxious sales rep increased his commissions by almost 280% last year. And, we've got some pretty strong words in there. Again, obnoxious, inflammatory. Now, you got to use these with some level of discernment. You can't just throw this out there and say, well, it was in the headline starter, so it must be appropriate. You've got to understand and look at the situation, the context of where the ad is going, who's going to be seeing it, et cetera, to know if it's appropriate or if it's right. I'll shed a little more light on the first one there. You can't quit smoking because you're pathetic and lack a single ounce of willpower. It's an interesting headline. And it's inflammatory because it's insulting to the people who are smokers. But the reality is this is sort of a weasel inflammatory, because realistically what happens when you use that headline, you actually come back later in the ad and you say, yeah, that's probably what you think. And that's maybe what you've been told. And that's what you've been led to believe. But it's actually not true. Here's the real reason you can't quit smoking. Okay, you see how that works? So even though it's obnoxious, it doesn't really insult like it would appear. This is coming from the same guy that wrote an ad for the radio for a plastic surgeon who did breast augmentations, and the ad had the headline of "Buy one boob, get one free." And there's a story that went with that. So it can be a little bit inflammatory. All right, situations. What situation would John Smith find himself in when needing what you sell? So what you do is you sort of put yourself in the position of John Smith. What is he thinking? What is happening? What's going on around him? Is your current cleaning company cutting corners but still charging you full price? There's also some really nice alliteration in there. Current cleaning company cutting corners, still charging you full price. Now the situation would clearly, obviously be you've got a house that's not as clean or an office that's not as clean as it should be. Just move in and looking for a new dentist. This would be appropriate to send to new people who just moved in who might need a dentist, right? So why not just say, hey, did you just move in and looking for a dentist? Kitchen's so ugly and outdated that you're embarrassed to have guests over. Temp agency, send over another incompetent. Tired of travel sites that promise lower rates but that never seem to be any lower. Let's say that you were running a travel site and you were able to place ads online that were keyword or context oriented. In other words, if somebody was searching a travel site, then that keyword for travel would let them know to run your ad. And you ran your ad and it said, are you tired of travel sites that promise lower rates but then never seem to be any lower? And people would see that and they would be in the situation where they were having that thought. Maybe not consciously, but when you put it into words, they might say to themselves, yeah, I am. All right, the next one is called Have You Ever? It's pretty straightforward. You just start the headline with either have you wanted or how often. Have you ever wanted to quit your job and start your own business? How often do you feel just plain lousy? How often do you find yourself wishing you had more hair? Daily. Have you ever wondered if the cleanliness of your bathrooms affected your customer count? Have you ever looked at a contractor and thought, I'm going to get screwed? Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Number 18, problem statement. Simply state the nature of the problem by hot button. Your $1,800 cabinet, this is for video game cabinets, can be broken into in less than 90 seconds, and you'll lose your $3,000 logic board. That's the problem. Your losses from bounced checks could easily top $1,000 per year. If your line runs out of boxes, you could be fired. This is for manufacturers, right? Dirty bathrooms can cost you as much as 50% of your customers never to come back again. This is for a bathroom sanitation company that works with restaurants. Your ads are getting swallowed up and buried by all your competitors' ads. Not visiting the dentist regularly could cost you more than just your teeth. It could also cost you a small fortune. That's the problem. If I'm a dentist, somebody doesn't want to go to the dentist. Well, what's the problem if they don't go to the dentist? Well, it's going to cost them their teeth. It's going to cost them a lot of money. Solution statement, sort of the other side of the coin, right? Simply state the solution to the problem. And again, buy a hot button. An extra $200 up front for break-in proof cabinets can save you thousands later. This immediately positions a premium price, but does so
muted.
Not sure what happened there, but does so right there in the headline, right at the beginning. Very good headline. So this is a great headline you could emulate for you as maybe a contractor. An extra $200 up front for guaranteed, true lifetime guarantee windows can save you thousands later on in repairs, frustration, damage, etc. I don't know. You have to play with that a little bit. Oh, come on. Check Collect, name of its service. Check Collect can effortlessly cut your bounce check losses by $1,000 or more per year. Dial this red phone anytime your line runs out of boxes and you need more right now. A weekly drains to vents deep clean will impress your customers and keep them coming back over and over. So really just talking about what we do and how we do it. Category exclusivity means your ad will never appear in the same issue as your competitors for advertisers. A 29-minute biannual visit to the dentist won't just save your teeth, it'll save you a small fortune. So we had the problem on the one hand, on the other side of the coin, very similar headlines, but they were solution-oriented. Number 20, this is pretty simple also. Imagine or what if, and I'm not talking about the what is it, Beatles song or John Lennon song. What if you could pass your certification test before you even officially finish the class? It's for a computer certification course. Imagine hyper-concentrated pre-soaks but at half the price you're used to paying. Car wash chemicals. What if you could get your customers' cars clean without using dangerous caustic soda-based chemicals? Car wash again. Imagine a meeting facility that was conceived, designed, and built specifically for business meetings. That's City Place. What if you pick up the phone and instantly get answers to any marketing questions you have? I might want to put a word in there. What if you could pick up the phone? Okay? Excuse me, number 21. Pardon me, it's credentials. Insert evidence, credentials, or other credibility building information into the headline. Independent lab tests show that Icon toner cartridges have 22% more toner than HP or Canon. The dentist voted best in Grapevine also happens to be the fastest, most pain-free, and most reasonably priced. Credibility, voted best in Grapevine. Totally Tots Daycare scored highest among South Lake daycares in 11 out of 11 categories, from facilities to nutrition to teacher qualifications. There's my qualifications, scored highest. The area's most designer-friendly showroom has a free lounge, free work area, complete with computers, stock fridge, sofas, and televisions. 7 former IRS agents on staff ensure that we won't be surprised during your audit. Now, look at the difference in some of these various headlines. It doesn't have to be a laboratory test, like in headline number 1, or something that was voted, like in headline number 2, or a score, like or the credentials of having qualified people in headline number 5, just to give you some width and breadth of how to use this. So I think that's an interesting headline, the credentials headline. All right, one of my favorites, elevators. What we're going to do is make power statements by using words like ever, period, bar none. Give me some examples. Never risk your line shutting down again, ever. The safest car wash soap on the planet, period. Whoops. Property tax reduction expert, second to none. Beats every other DVR on the market, hands down. The fastest dentist in Grapevine, bar none. You'll never find a higher quality window at any price, guaranteed. And we also notice use the word never. Never find a higher quality window at any price, guaranteed. So we're taking normal statements, never risk, never actually is another, we got 2 elevators going there. Never risk your line shutting it down again, ever. When we put that ever, it just elevates the attitude. That's why we call it an elevator. Elevating the attitude, taking it up to another level, going up to the penthouse level of attitude. 23rd headline, anticipated objections. Anticipate what objections prospects might have, preemptively address them in your headline. Wholesale diamond company sells at lower prices. Just because our diamonds cost less doesn't mean they're worth less. The fastest dentist in Grapevine was also voted highest quality dentist in Grapevine. Well, the preemptive objection is if they are fast, then maybe they're not doing a good job. But we address that in the headline. Introducing the 100% child-safe swimming pool. The thrill of live NBA basketball at the prices of your local movie theater. We can guarantee a reduction of your property tax bill, even if you've already contested your bill and won. The property tax contesting company, obviously, one of the major objections that they run into is, hey, we've already protested our taxes, and so we don't need your service. And they're saying, no, no, no. Even if you've already done that, we can help you out. 24, destroying the competition. Take a direct shot at your competitor by name or as a group. And again, like with the inflammatory headlines, you want to use discretion. You don't want to just haphazardly throw this out. It might get you in trouble. Same cleaning power as turtle wax, but without the dangerous chemicals or ridiculous price. So we're a car wash chemical manufacturing, soaps and stuff, and we just took a direct shot at turtle wax. We said that they've got dangerous chemicals and ridiculous prices. World's first DVR, TiVo. World's best DVR, Moxie. Call Swisher if you want bathrooms cleaned in 9 minutes. Call Sparkling Image if you want them 100% sanitized, drains to vents. What a great shot at Swisher. Dynamo cabinets are reinforced by 172 hardwood dowel rods. Other brands, inexplicably, have 0. Now on that particular one, we did not take a swipe at a specific competitor, but more at the industry at large. But again, I do caution you to use this carefully because you might get yourself either in legal trouble or you might get yourself just in trouble with a competitor. For instance, the top headline there, same cleaning power as turtle wax. That headline never did run, and the reason is the company that we were working with at the time, obviously a direct competitor of turtle wax, they said if we take a swipe at turtle wax will very likely spend more money on advertising to specifically take us down than we have in top-line revenue in an entire year. We don't want to risk kicking a hornet's nest. So I did sneak one in on them, which was don't be shell-shocked by your car wash chemical prices. And it was a little nod of turtle wax shell-shocked. Okay, this is an interesting one. This gets a little more advanced, I think. Parentheses. Use a parenthetical subheadline to make a subtle but powerful point. Now, those of you who are more skilled in the art of sarcasm will appreciate this and perhaps be able to use this particular headline starter. Would you like your marketing advice with VS or without? That's what I thought. Tired of next-day repair service for your point-of-transaction hardware that actually takes 3 to 4 days? Relax, you're just losing money. Dynamo cabinets are reinforced by 172 hardwood dowel rods. And then maybe in parentheses, same headline as before, but other brands inexplicably have 0. It takes it and it just sort of couches it in a little bit different, maybe perhaps more powerful way. You're not risking anything by putting off your visit to the dentist, except your teeth. Okay. All right. The next one is the last one, which is pictures. Now, don't hang up after I finish this slide because we're going to go through a bunch of examples to give you an idea of how these can work for different kinds of companies. But I created this headline starter of pictures because I found myself frequently going through websites, stock photo websites, looking for pictures to illustrate different kinds of concepts. And I found that when I went through these websites looking for certain topics of pictures, I would find other pictures that were very, very interesting and gave me ideas for creating headlines. So search for images that give you ideas for headlines. There's a couple of resources. One is called Fotolia.com. We used to use that one in the past quite a bit. However, BigStock.com, we switched to that for, we don't only use BigStock.com, but we primarily use BigStock.com because they have a ginormous library of photos and they have subscription prices that are actually quite a bit lower than Fotolia, and the pictures have a huge amount of overlap. In other words, the exact same photos are available on both sites. Not exactly, but there's a lot of overlap. So what you do is you look for pictures and say, okay, well, what could I do with that? So there's my photo I found. Apparently, not everyone is thrilled to see the dentist. And we've got this box of interesting smiley faces, and most of them are smiling. They're supposed to be smiley faces, right? But you've got a few in here where this guy over here on the right is a little bit worried, and the guy next to him is frowning. You got a frowny face. You got a couple straight faces. Very interesting little thing, I thought. Relax. We could make your visit quick, easy, and painless. And here's a different version, just a little more close up. Apparently not everyone is thrilled to see the dentist. Same kind of situation, but just larger version of those same smiley face balls. Okay, see how that works? It's pretty simple. So let's go through an example now. I actually used these same examples on Headline Starters Part 1 on June 3rd, and I'm going to continue them. I'm not saying that you remember something from a month and a half ago. I'm just saying they're the same ones. This is a company that does water purification for dentists. The situation, he invented a water purification system that is light years beyond anything on the market. He wants to sell to other dentists to combat what's called the biofilm problem. Biofilm is essentially if you go to a river and you step on a rock and it's slippery because it's got slippery junk on it, that's biofilm. And that same type of biofilm can and does accumulate in the dentist's water system, including the hoses, okay? So these guys invented a water purification system that combats that. Benefits, it's more effective. It not only cleans the water, but causes water to sterilize everything it comes in contact with, uses space more efficiently, it's cheaper to use, limits exposure because it kills all diseases in biofilm. Now, how does it work? What are the details of how it works? Not really that important for our conversation. We want to simply write headlines for this, okay? So, short and to the point, world's most advanced water treatment for dentists. Surgical clean water for pennies per day. Eliminate biofilm in water lines permanently. Water lines should probably be 2 words. All right, curiosity. Guess how many infectious diseases are found in your water lines? Most dentists either don't or prefer not to think about that. Inflammatory. Your biggest malpractice threat is in your water lines. What concerns you more, the moral or the financial ramifications of biofilm in your water lines? That's kind of a low blow there. Situations. Concerned about water quality in your dental practice. Want to eliminate biofilm from your water lines once and for all. Now we'll go to the next one. Have you ever, or how often, have you ever considered what would happen if a patient caught an infectious disease from your water supply? Problem statement. The average dental water purifier costs $2,200, but only lowers biofilm contaminants to 75 CFUs per milliliter. Those are words that are all understandable by dentists. The solution, surgical quality water for less than $260 a day, guaranteed to never form biofilm, or we'll pay you $100,000 cash. Pretty bold. Imagine, what if you could get surgical quality water with less than 10 CFUs per milliliter of biofilm? And that's a very small amount of biofilm. Credentials. Lab tests prove that we can lower biofilm to under 10 CFUs per milliliter. Did you know that 2013's Dental Device of the Year was a water purification system? Elevators, most effective water sterilization system on the planet, period. Outperforms every single competitive brand of water purifiers, hands down. All right, objections. The world's most effective dental water purification system is also the most compact, most user-friendly, and most cost-effective. Destroy the competition. Our system laughs and points at other purification systems. I like that. Still have 6. Run your water through 10 consecutive competitive models, and you'll still have 6 times the contaminants. I like that. Interesting way to say something. Here's some photos. Well, we'll go to parentheses first. How to kill a patient with water. Yes, with water. Pictures. Keyword, disgusting. Headline, how clean is the water you're putting in your patient's mouth? And we have a picture of a toilet. Headline, are you creating a biohazard in your patient's mouth? And I actually found this photo of these little biohazard suit guys inside of a mouth. That's Pretty spot on, but I probably wouldn't have thought of that headline unless I'd seen this photo. Okay? Now, thinking in terms of hot buttons, let's talk about the replacement window industry. Objections to ownership. People don't realize that windows are the cause of their energy problems. Okay? Short and to the point. High energy bills, 90% your Windows fault. Curiosity, the one thing that's absolutely killing your energy bills. Take this one question, idiot-proof energy quiz. That's pretty inflammatory. Want to shoot somebody every time your electric bill arrives. Now that actually might be more inflammatory than situations. Have you ever wondered why your electric bill is so high even though you are trying to conserve energy? Is your energy bill was $175 and higher than it should have been last month? The solution statement, quickest and easiest way to lower your electric bill by $175 a month. What if you could lower your electric bill by $200 a month without changing the thermostat? Now, let's not lose sight of what we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to sit down, write a lot of headlines using multiple headline starter methods so that when we actually go to write our postcard series or our advertisement for the local magazine or create information on our website, we've got interesting stock to pull from. We've got interesting stock to pull from. Okay, what if you could lower your electric bill by $200 a month without changing your thermostat? Credentials. We were able to lower electric bills in 2,798 of 3,000 homes last year. That's pretty impressive. It's credential. Easiest way to save money on your energy bills, bar none. Want to cut your electric bill by $200 a month without touching your thermostat. Oh yeah, I can save money on my energy bill, but I'm going to have to sweat it out in the summer and freeze in the winter, right? Nope. The granddaddy of all energy saving tricks. All right, a couple more. Parentheses, want to guess what the #1 cause of high electric bills is? Hint, it has nothing to do with the electric company's rates. That's particularly appropriate and applicable here in Texas where I live, because we are constantly bombarded with advertisements from deregulated energy companies telling us that their rates are much lower than TXU, which is the incumbent old state-controlled electric company. So we're getting it all the time that the reason that we're paying so much for electricity is because our rates are too high. And it sort of masks or hides the fact that, no, maybe there's some usage issues that are not where they should be. Pictures. Can you spot the biggest energy sucker in this picture? And then we put a picture of a house sitting in front of an SUV sitting in front of a house. So way to access money to grow your business, okay? Short and to the point, eliminate cash flow problems forever. Curiosity, how to get cash for your business immediately at a rate of less than 1%. How would you possibly get money at a rate of less than 1%? And the answer is they are going to lend you money against your own receivables, but not only are they going to do that, they are going to look at all of your receivables. They're going to evaluate the companies that owe you money, how long the money has been outstanding, and therefore how likely you are to get that money soon, and they will lend you money against the most likely to be collected soonest receivables so that it's a shorter duration, and they know the risk involved with those companies due to credit reporting, and so they give you a very good rate. Interesting, huh? Inflammatory. Seriously, your vendors are sick and tired of you slow paying them. Miss another payroll, vendors about to cut you off for slow paying. Those are situations that are very common from a cash flow situation with companies, right? How often do you need a miracle just to make payroll? Your customers slow pay you, which means you have to slow pay your vendors. That's the problem when you don't have good cash flow. Get access to cash today to pay your vendors, employees, and grow your business. There's a solution. Next, imagine Or what if? What if you had instant access to cash whenever you needed it at a rate of less than 1%? Credentials. We've got over $1.1 billion to lend small businesses right now. Fastest way to fix your cash flow problem, period. That's an elevator. You can receive an advance on a $10,000 receivable for as little as $80 in fees and interest. And no, it's not factoring. Factoring is a way to get money on invoices that a lot of people have had a negative experience with in the past. This is different. Destroy competition. Factoring companies are great if you don't mind paying 22 to 30% interest on all your receivable advances, which is exactly what the factoring companies do. This company only charges 1 to 2%. It's different. Okay, here's a picture we found, a series of photos actually. Your cash flow problem can be completely gone by this time next week, not to mention your stress problem. Stressed out by cash flow problems. Okay? Now let's go to daycare and we'll end up here pretty quickly, all right? Hot button, staff. Shortened to the point, all workers background checked semi-annually. Curiosity, guess what percentage of daycare workers would fail a drug test? Inflammatory, do your kid's daycare instructor is on drugs? And you look at that and you say, well, how do you know that's true? My kid's daycare instructor might not be on drugs, but we could go on to then discuss the fact that 45% of daycare centers do not require drug testing for their employees. Therefore, there's a chance, depending on your daycare center, that this is a true statement. How many failed background checks staff members are acceptable for your child's daycare center? Picture. Yes, even this daycare worker might be on drugs. We check all of them monthly. And we would put a picture of a very sweet, nice looking young daycare worker who actually might be on drugs because they don't check. And the point is to put doubt in people's minds about daycares that don't do drug testing. Okay, for daycare, we might also look at the staff-child ratio. Comparisons, number of children per staff member at XYZ, 8. Other daycare centers, 17. The bold claim, we cap our enrollment at 100 children to ensure we give your child personal care and attention. Problem identification. Most daycare centers have so many children that the staff members don't know all of their names. And here's what's happening. Hopefully you're sort of catching on to this. We take a company, we look at the particular hot button, and then we simply look at the headline starter and come up with a headline. Numbers. Well, I think numbers is actually from the first set, but that's okay. These are not actually from the second set of headline starters. 3 reasons other daycare centers have such high staff turnover and we don't. Okay, that's a fail. Why is that on there? Daycare, facilities. Have you ever, here we go, have you ever wished there was more for your child to do at daycare? Problem statement. Most children dread going to daycare because it's boring. Solution, 20 computers, 3 playgrounds, a movie theater, and 1,044 books will keep your child occupied all day. Imagine a daycare center with 22 computers, 3 playgrounds, a movie theater, and 1,044 books. Same kind of thing, which is stated differently. Credentials, if they had an award for best daycare facilities, Totally Tots would totally win it. Just being a little goofy. Next one, learning versus playing. Elevators, best learning curriculum for students, daycare students in South Lake, bar none. It is possible to have the best learning curriculum in town and make learning fun. Apparently, destroy competition. Apparently some daycares considered watching Nick Jr. on TV educational curriculum. Parentheses, we have a 22-station Dell computer lab, most daycares between 0 and 3. You'll notice that that's very similar to the most video game cabinets, or our video game cabinets have 172 hardwood dowels, others inexplicably have 0. Same type of headline. Here's a picture we found on Fotolia. Okay, what did your child learn at daycare today? Is this your daycare center's idea of learning? Barney, SpongeBob, and Rugrats are not educational curriculum. What? That's a typo. What you're getting from daycare for $700 a month, watching television. The idea is to have enough ammo to be able to be effective. Would you rather be this guy with a little bullet or this guy with a full arsenal? That's what we're trying to do. It's a pretty simple process and procedure. The idea here is simply to give you a way and a mean to come up with multiple headlines so that when you go to write your marketing, you can do it, and you can do it well and thorough and make it actually work. So that's Headline Starters. Part 1 was last month. Part 2 we just completed. I want to thank you for joining me today and going through this with me. I will take any questions you have right now. If you'd like to ask a question, please type it into the console. If you do not have any questions, then we will not take them. All right. Thank you, Rich Sirocco, for that. I'm not sure why we lost our screen there, but we did. There it is. All right. I don't see any questions. Let's see if there's anything else. Nope. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of our webinar today. We will be back with you again next week when we will have a webinar on the topic of allowable marketing costs per sale. You will not want to miss that. We're going to talk about how to determine how much money to spend on marketing and advertising. So we'll talk to you then. Thanks so much for participating. We'll see you later. Bye now.